Hi, this is Professor Gray. Hey, Rachel, how are you doing? How's your family? Yeah, I could help y'all. I have some time right now. I was just grading papers and reading through um, some essays right now. So yeah, it's a great time period. Go ahead. Well, around what time period are you? Um, what time period are you talking about? Okay, let's see. Around the Civil War time period. Let's go with right before leading into the Civil War. Um, One of the major ones I would say is dealing with Texas. Uh, you basically have Americans that moved into what we now know as Texas, and at this time period, it was actually it was Mexican territory because this was in around the 1820s. Well, when Americans moved in and claimed themselves Texans, Mexico said that they had to live by certain rules, and these rules were dealing with such as you couldn't bring slaves in, and you had to become Catholics. This is an example of a couple of the rules that the Texans had to abide by. Well, the Texans brought some slaves in, not all of them became Catholics, and they broke some other rules. And so the Mexican government got a little mad, and to try to calm things down and to get the point straight, they brought up some of their military. Well, this led into the Texas Revolution. American base America won, and Texas basically came under the claim of America at this point of time. Uh, but this led into problems between states, the North and the South, because this would allow another state to have slaves or another state to not have slaves. And so it brought some controversy. This is one of the main topics that led into something called the Compromise of 1850. Does that answer your question as a problem that could have led into arguments between states? Okay, go ahead. Well, that's a good question. There was a lot of basically contention about slavery, especially up north. People were trying to figure out their points of view of how they were going to feel about slavery. And at this time period, there was someone named William Lloyd Garrison, and he was a journalist. He started a paper called The Liberator, and in this paper, it had a lot of anti-slavery articles. Now, there was branches that people basically grouped into. You had people that totally did not want slavery and they would do whatever it took. And then there are some people that just thought slavery was bad and they were trying to figure out what to do. Um, and there are some people that just were torn between. Well, William Lloyd Garrison took the standpoint that slavery needed to be ended, but that it shouldn't be, maybe it shouldn't be taken to an extreme level, but he definitely felt that slavery should be ended. And in his articles, what it ended up doing is leading other people like John Brown to get involved in anti-slavery issues. And now he was a total anti-slavery activist. He wanted slavery ended no matter what it took. And there was problems dealing in the Nebraska and Kansas area. There had just been the Nebraska and Kansas Act. And there's issues dealing with popular sovereignty and allowing slavery to basically be chosen there or not. And there had been some persecution and a couple of deaths with anti-slavery people. And John Brown took a couple of his sons and some others and went to slavery territories around that area and actually killed a couple of people, feeling more like an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth type deal. So these are definitely two people that were pretty strong with slavery issues at this time period. So I especially William Lloyd Garrison. You know, I really like that question because this can come in different points of mind. We sit here and slavery was an issue. A lot of people wanted slavery ended, and so there was a lot of talk about ending slavery. Well, when the Civil War started, it started to occur in people's minds that, wait, slavery most likely is going to end. What's going to happen with African Americans after the Civil War? And they started to realize that maybe this shouldn't just be about ending slavery, but maybe it should also be about civil rights issues. And at this point of time, and that's something that's kind of overlooked because it was definitely even overlooked at that time period until people started realizing that slavery might end. What are we going to do? And the Union took it upon themselves, and they actually started an all African American unit. It was Unit 54, and they're pretty renowned. They were really obedient. They showed how much they loved America, and they showed that they could basically that they were equal to everyone else. They could do what anyone else could do. They were great men, and this started leading into more civil rights for African Americans, and so it was a great time period for them to show how much they loved America. Does that answer your question? All right. Well, if your teacher allows, something that has kind of come to my mind is with dealing with the Civil War. A lot of it has to do with states and where they were geographically located, and if they were slave states or non-slave states. So maybe y'all could go through a map and discuss which states are slave states and which or what states were not slave states, that were free states. Sorry. That could really help with y'all's understanding of some of these issues. Well, it was great to talk to you in the class. I'll be able to talk to you later, Rachel. Have fun.